What will DIMO look like when all of this is built? What is the future that DIMO is working toward?
So there's really two aspects to the Web3 story of DIMO. There's the token and how that gives ownership to the users and the incentives and alignment that comes with that. There's also just how the product is built itself in terms of cars being represented with on-chain blockchain identities like an NFT, and drivers having kind of blockchain-based identity and the permissions and all that stuff being built on blockchain, but also being interoperable with all the other things built on blockchain. So what does that actually look like in the case of DIMO? So imagine this guy Bob, and it's the year 2025. He has a Web3 identity already. He's done a lot of transactions, and there's so much information about who he is, and you can kind of derive his credit score and a lot of stuff about him if he has a driver's license and things like that. It's already kind of attached to his identity. He's able to share that with applications like DIMO without exposing his private information. So you can know he's over 21 and is able to enter the bar, but not know his birthday, for example. So you can share just what you need to share. In the case of DIMO, it would be that he's licensed, that he's insured, he's a citizen of the country and allowed to be, doing these things. He has a TLC taxi license and can drive people around in a certain area or something like that. So we can know all these things about Bob. He just connects one identity to DIMO, and all of that kind of comes in, and all the applications of DIMO can build off that logic. So in this example, let's say Bob needs a car first. He wants to drive, he wants to do kind of like a ride hailing service in a city like New York or Phoenix or whatever. But first he needs a car. So there are several DIMO apps that analyze verified data that come off of DIMO cars, data about how those cars are selling in the marketplace and more, to kind of tell you, here's an auction, here's all these people that are trying to sell their car. We know exactly how that car was driven. So we know that it has an A- condition rating based on the previous owner's driving history and usage. We know that cars like this have a $1,200 annual maintenance cost, for the next 3 years. We know what the market value is for cars like this because we can kind of see cars like this being sold across these Web3 marketplaces and all over the place. And so we can assign this particular Toyota Camry that Bob's looking at, an above average value. So now Bob bids on it. And again, there's no company running this auction. It's just completely peer-to-peer, open Web3 auction service where people can list their cars for sale. People can kind of, these independent services can provide the reviews and data, and then people can come in and bid on them. So this is, there's that Camry is in one of those types of marketplaces. Bob puts in a bid, and when the auction closes, he's the winner. He has 2 days to kind of put funds into a smart contract that holds those funds until the delivery is made and both sides verify the delivery happens, and the funds are automatically transferred. Again, no escrow agent, no company, no people behind the scenes, just smart contracts. So the only people making money here are the seller, and the only person paying is the buyer. So let's say instead of he needed to actually finance the car, rather than going to a bank and signing paperwork and doing all these things, there could be a blockchain-based DeFi lending protocol that looks at the vehicle that he wants to buy, looks at the market conditions, the same type of data that he was looking at to kind of determine the value of the car, looks at Bob's creditworthiness. Again, looks at his personal data without seeing the actual detail itself. It just knows that he has a good credit score. It doesn't know exactly it doesn't know all his transaction history and all those different things, but it knows that attached to Bob's identity is some certification that he has an above average credit score. So it knows the car, knows the health of the car, knows his creditworthiness, and automatically generates a loan for Bob. So instead of having massive bank with lots of people, lots of paperwork, there's just a protocol for lending. So he gets a much better loan. So now Bob has the car. He has a compatible car, attaches it to DIMO. His identity is attached to himself. So now people who built a ride sharing app can just automatically include Bob. They write a program that says if driver has XYZ credentials, if car is insured and car is in driving shape and is in good condition, then allow Bob to pick up rides on our platform. And it does this matchmaking. And because again, protocol, not a massive company, lots of paperwork, lots of people behind the scenes, maybe the driver keeps 99% of the fare, not the 70% that Uber leaves you with. There's not this massive overhead and need for kind of centralized control and bureaucracy and all that when you do it as kind of a Web3 protocol. And also when Bob completes a trip, the protocol can confirm the trip happened, can prove it happened, knows that the passenger also went that same from place to place, and it settles the payment in seconds rather than Uber. They send you funds, ACH. This, some time goes by, you actually can't get your hands on the cash for like a week. And then also with this DIMO application, maybe his reputation, like his 4.5-star reviews and all the data about his trips and all that stuff is completely portable. It's his data now because he uses DIMO, and he can take that to another app, or it can contribute more to his credit score. When he's applying for a home now, it can see that this is a person who's done a lot of drives and has completed them successfully and all that stuff. And those things can be factored into other things. So all this is very composable. So that's kind of a high level vision for the future. Bob could also use DIMO to get insurance based on his driving data. He could bring his car into his favorite video game and drive that around. And the more he, does in the real world, maybe the more like upgrades he can buy for bumper stickers he can put on his metaverse car. He can join various communities of Camry owners and taxi drivers based on his real world activity and credentials there. Like he's done 10,000 rides, so he gets into the 10,000 rides club and can talk to other people who have done lots of trips and share tips and things like that. He could lend his car when he's not using it to other people who want to share it, better maintain his car, show off these different achievements and a lot more stuff like that. Not to mention make even more money monetizing the data from his car as he's driving, as other app developers and data consumers are paying to access that data, to know how Camrys are performing, to know about traffic in his city, to know the weather outside of his car for the decentralized weather maps and so on. So that's kind of the idea of what DIMO could look like in the relatively near term. I mean, it's not even to mention the kind of the full vision for when we expand beyond mobility into or expand other types of mobility and beyond mobility into IoT. And all of that is relatively skeuomorphic. So it's like, we talk about skeuomorphism. It's like when the early internet came along, people just took things that existed in the real world and put them online. Like, oh, you had the white pages, well, let's just put the white pages online. Like, oh, you sent mail, let's just send mail online. But people weren't really thinking in terms of like smartphones and Netflix and Uber. That those didn't have kind of the pre-internet comparison. And so we also expect there's going to be a lot of things that kind of emerge out of Web3 and emerge out of DIMO that aren't even like things that exist today. Or as autonomous driving and electrification moves along, there will be entirely new businesses and services and features that don't exist today that will need to exist in the future and will be kind of the platform for that as well. So it's hard to even say just how big of a reach DIMO could have.
That's incredible. I think that is actually where you
start. A lot of people like discount the fact, like, so Zoom and email might make you more productive with your team, but it's also making your vendors more productive and your customers more productive. And it means that they can buy more, and it means that your vendor can deliver faster. And then the people that use your customers thing can, like order more, or, they're more like, so like the ripple effects in these complex systems is massive. And I feel like with a lot of the Web3 stuff, people kind of discount how critical even these minor changes in the portability of data, in the solidness and neutrality of the foundation, the improvement in incentives, small differences can make massive economic differences, massive like day-to-day experience differences. Like the ad model for social media is a small thing about how they monetize, massive impact on the product. Being a public company beholden to shareholders need a certain thing, massive impact on incentives. Campaign financing in politics, massive impact on the day-to-day decisions of policymakers. So it doesn't take much to improve in these systems at scale to make massive impacts. And so that's one of the reasons I'm excited about Web3. It's one of the reasons I'm excited about DIMO for this industry and then IoT generally.